So you're interested in hiring your first virtual assistant, or maybe you have a couple already and you're trying to scale your business. In this video, I'm gonna share with you 11 things to do before you hire your first virtual assistant or another virtual assistant. I've hired over 100 virtual assistants in my online business in all different areas, from publishing to YouTube to e-commerce, selling on eBay, Amazon, all different areas. And I can tell you right now that the number one thing which has allowed me to grow and scale my business, and over the last 5 years, I've generated over $2 million in sales. The number one thing that I've been able to do in my business to grow it, to scale it, to make more profit is hiring virtual assistants. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you everything that you need to know about hiring virtual assistants. And I'm gonna share with you mistakes to avoid, how to get started, where to find them, how to communicate with them, how to manage virtual assistants, all the things that I wish that I would have known when I had first gotten started hiring virtual assistants. If you're looking to learn about virtual assistants from someone who's actually used them, who has a team right now, and who's running a real business, this is gonna be the video for you. So if you're ready to rock and roll, get out a pen and a pad, we're gonna take some notes, cue that intro. All right, welcome back everybody. I'm so excited to share with you this video because if I would have had this information 6 years ago, I would have made hundreds of thousands of dollars more in my business. And hiring virtual assistants isn't only about making more money. The number one thing that I love about having a team of virtual assistants is it frees up my time to be able to enjoy life. Right? Regardless of what you are coming to this video for, maybe you're in real estate or you're in e-commerce or you're a teacher and you're just looking for someone to help you, the best thing about having virtual assistants is it frees up your time to focus on the things that either one, matter the most, or two, you focus on things that you enjoy and you can outsource the rest. So you're probably wondering why I'm holding a computer right now. It's because I just put together a presentation and it's called 11 Things to Do Before Hiring a Virtual Assistant in 2020. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, we're gonna be covering everything that you need to know. And I'll give you a quick little sample. Why you wanna hire, like figuring out your why, where to find virtual assistants, how to create a detailed job description. I've got some tips about job descriptions, how much to pay, the interview process, putting them to the test, being clear with expectations, product management. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we're covering in this presentation. So if you're excited to rock and roll, I'm actually gonna take you into my computer right now and we're gonna dive into this free presentation. So I'm telling you right now, if I would have had this video, it would have saved me thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours of time. So hopefully you enjoy this video. And before we get in, I wanna give a big shout out to onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph is sponsoring this video. And in this presentation, we're actually gonna cover how to find virtual assistants, the best websites to go to find them, so on and so forth. And one of my favorite websites to use is onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph is a website that helps you to find virtual assistants from the Philippines for as little as $2 an hour. So big shout out to onlinejobs.ph. Check them out. I'll put a link down below in the description. But with that being said, let's dive into this video. Hey, what's going on everybody? Steve here. And in this video, we're gonna be covering 11 things to do before hiring a virtual assistant in 2020. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Steve Raiken. I run the YouTube channel Raiken Profit, and I quit my job over 5 years ago. It was about 7 years ago. I used to work at the Cracker Barrel. I was delivering pizzas. And since then, I've been able to generate over $2 million in sales. And I can tell you right now that none of this, not an ounce of it, would have been possible without hiring over 100 virtual assistants to help me along my way in my journey. So one of the first things I want to discuss with you, one of the 11 things when it comes to hiring a virtual assistant, and before you even start to think about it, is ask yourself the question, who do I want to hire? So I've hired over 100 virtual assistants in all different areas of my business and in various businesses. And the first thing you got to ask yourself is, who do I want to hire? So for example, if you are running an eBay business, you might want to look into hiring somebody to list your items. If you're drop shipping, maybe you need somebody to do customer service. Maybe you're running a YouTube channel and you really would like to save time by having someone edit your YouTube video. So ask yourself, before you start hiring virtual assistants, is who exactly do I want? Do I want to hire a general virtual assistant, somebody who's going to filter emails and maybe write up transcriptions or research or data entry or managing my blog or my calendar, Twitter, Instagram, social media? That's a general virtual assistant. Another common type of virtual assistant is someone who creates content for you. So one of the first virtual assistants that I hired was a content writer, otherwise known as a ghost writer. You can hire people to write articles, blog posts, ebooks, descriptions for your YouTube videos. These are very common. There's SEO specialists, there's web developers, there's people who can edit your graphic designs and create graphic designs for you and do all different types of stuff. So really sit down right now, take a look at your business. That's the best advice I can give you, and write down all the different things you're doing in your business over a week, 2 week, 3 week period. And then ask yourself, what's 1 or 2 tasks that I could outsource that would save me a bunch of time? And think of it like the 80-20 rule. A lot of times we're spending all of our time doing the things that only produce the 20% of the results. But what are the things that, maybe the 1 or 2 things that if you outsourced it, or maybe something that you had someone else do, that could just make a huge impact in your business? So that's step number 1. Number 2, where are you going to find a virtual assistant? That's the second thing we have to take into consideration before hiring a virtual assistant. Where are we going to find a virtual assistant? So there's a couple websites that I recommend. My favorite right now is onlinejobs.ph. And the reason why I love onlinejobs.ph is because this is a Philippines-based company, and you hire Filipino workers and employees from the Philippines, and you can hire them dirt cheap. They're loyal, they're trustworthy. I've hired so many of my virtual assistants from the Philippines. I really just love working with the people in the Philippines. They're really good people, and they've got a wide range of skill sets. Now, there are other websites such as Upwork.com, but it's typically going to be a little bit more expensive, and I found that you get a lot less people applying for your job. And then there's Fiverr.com, which is great for small jobs, one-time projects, maybe if you only need 1 graphic created or 1 video edited. But if you're really looking to, build a team and do it as inexpensively as possible and have the highest quality, loyal, ethical workers, I've found that onlinejobs.ph is the best. So definitely check it out. I'll put a link down below in the description. Number 3, the third thing you have to do before hiring a virtual assistant, and this is so important, create a detailed job description. So when you go onto onlinejobs.ph or Upwork or wherever you decide to choose, you want to create as much information in your job description as possible. You want to make it as detailed as possible, because you really want to use your job description as a magnet to attract your ultimate team player, your ultimate virtual assistant, or your ultimate worker, whatever it is you want to call it. The more time you really spend creating a detailed job description, really overviewing the summary of the job, the major functions, the required skills, the availability, expectations, working conditions, what you expect to see on the resume, the better you're going to do when you actually go through and you're looking at the applicants and whatnot. So once you figure out exactly who you want to hire, so maybe you want to hire an SEO specialist, you want to have someone to help you with your YouTube titles and descriptions and so on and so forth, and maybe you go over to onlinejobs.ph and you put out a job post. You really want to dial in exactly what you're looking for. So don't just write, I'm looking for someone to do SEO, which is search engine optimization. Put forth, I need somebody to research the top 100 YouTube videos in my niche. I need somebody who understands the YouTube algorithm. I need somebody who understands how to rank for YouTube videos and the descriptions and the tags and the titles. You really want to dive deep. And again, this is going to take a lot of upfront work and thinking, but it's going to save you so much time. Number 4, plant something unexpected in the job description. This is the 4th thing that you want to make sure that you know, and something that you do before starting to put out job descriptions and you start trying to hire people, is you want to plant something unexpected in the job description. It's very common, unfortunately, not for everybody, and it's a generalization, but it's very common for virtual assistants to apply to multiple jobs very rapidly. So they might not really care. They might not have read your job description. They might just be applying. And you don't want to waste a ton of time filtering through 50, 100, 200 applications from people who don't really care. So essentially what I like to do in a description is put a simple question that is unexpected. So maybe my job description is maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. In one of the paragraphs, I'll put in a sentence that has nothing to do with the paragraph at all. So maybe the paragraph is talking about, I'm looking for a graphic designer who has 3 to 5 years experience. Please make sure that you understand how to use Adobe. I need you to have experience with creating YouTube thumbnails, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you'll put in, please tell me how many YouTube subscribers I have on my YouTube channel on RaikenProfit.com in the job description below. And then you just keep going, right? So you've got this paragraph that's 100% relevant to the points you're making, but one of the sentences is it's just a sentence that has nothing to do with it. But what you're doing is you're trying to see who's reading the job description and who's not. It's going to save you so much time. And a lot of times what I do is I just go in and I make sure, like when I'm going through maybe 50 job applications, I'm looking at the bottom of the page where I have, because you can ask questions. For example, how many hours a week can you work? Can you tell me anything more about you? Is there anything else that you want to let me know? And I'll just go through there to see if they read the description and if they answered the question. So just a really good thing to do to save yourself time. So the 5th thing out of 11 to do before you hire a virtual assistant, and something you really want to know, is how much can I afford to pay a virtual assistant? How much should I expect to pay? What's my budget? And here's some, ideas in terms of how much I've paid for virtual assistants in the Philippines. Again, my favorite website is onlinejobs.ph. Upwork.com might be a little less, a little cheaper depending on the job. But typically when you're looking at programmers, you could be looking at anywhere between $500 to $1,300 a month. Graphic designers around $400 to $1,100 a month. SEO specialists, very similar to designers. Social media experts, so people that help with Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, typically, sometimes half the rate, anywhere from $300 to $600 a month. And then general virtual assistants can range anywhere from $350 to $800 a month. Now, these are based on full-time wages, which comes out to about 160 hours per month. So, if you're only hiring someone for as little as $2 to $3 an hour, that's typically going to come out to somewhere from around like $200 to $300 a month. Double that, you're around $400 to $600 a month, which is like $4 to $5 an hour, and then on from there. So, onlinejobs.ph, which again, big shout out for onlinejobs.ph sponsoring this video. And I'm not just saying it because they're sponsoring it. They really do have the best prices in terms of virtual assistants and some of the highest quality virtual assistants, but check them out because you can hire people sometimes cheaper, but this is just a good general rule right here. So that's the 5th thing. This is kind of like the average price that you can pay a virtual assistant. But what you can do in your job description is you can put how much you're looking to pay. And then you could also, like when you're creating your description, you could plant in different seeds in terms of, what you're expecting to pay, what you want to pay, different things like that. Number 6, the interview process. So once you put out your job descriptions and you put out your applications, or people are starting to apply to your job, one of the most important things you want to do before hiring a virtual assistant is go through an interview process. Now, where should you conduct the interview process? For me, I've found that I've done the best in terms of looking back over a year or two and saying, wow, that was a really good hire. Skype or video platform tends to do the best because when you get on a video with somebody and you could see their face and you could look into their eyes, you could read their body language, you could really tell, are they committed? Are they excited? Do they look like, they really want this job? Are they passionate? It depends upon your values and what you're really looking for in a person, but having that video is just a great way to be able to filter through and, interview people. Also keep in mind that be easygoing and laid back so VAs can be themselves. You don't want to be like too hard on them. I found that one of the best things to do during the interview process is just to be easygoing and laid back. Let the virtual assistants be themselves. A lot of times we might think, well, we're talking to somebody thousands of miles away, we can intimidate them and be rough around the edges, and it really doesn't work. They won't open up. They won't be themselves. You want to, be calm and just, let them tell you stories to get to know them. Make sure to have a list of questions that you want to ask in advance so you're prepared. Don't be drilling down their throat and being too over the top. Just be laid back and calm. Let them tell you stories. Have your questions prepared, and make sure that you're taking notes during this interview process. So, these are one of the, probably one of the most important things. Number 7, put them to the test. Don't just trust what your virtual assistants tell you. Don't take it at face value. Give them a test to see how they perform. So you've created your job description, they've applied to your job, they've passed that part of the equation. You then brought them on to an interview. Hopefully it's a video platform, or maybe an audio would be a second option, and they've done a good job, they've answered your questions. The next thing you want to do before hiring them, and again, you might be thinking, Steve, this is outrageous. Why don't you just hire them, and if you don't like them, you could fire them? Because it wastes a lot of money, it wastes a lot of time. So this is the third step. Again, it seems like overkill, but I'm telling you, after hiring 100 people, this is the best way to do it. Put them to the test by giving them a small task. So for example, let's say you're hiring a graphic designer and you need somebody to create 50 graphic designs for you. Instead of giving them 50 at once and having this 3-month job or 1-month job, this huge, monster in front of them, give them a little test. So say, hey, I need you to create this one graphic, and then pay attention to how they perform. And this will be a measure for the future. If they're not paying attention to the details, if they're delivering it late, if it's really hard to communicate with them on just a small little project, then realize that this is probably going to be a reoccurring theme. Now, don't beat them up too much in terms of the overall quality, because you are going to have to train them, and it's always a work in progress. After hiring over 100 virtual assistants, there's never been a time when a virtual assistant just knew everything. You've got to train them, but you want to, again, pay attention to, are they listening to you? How's the communication? Are they delivering the work on time? When you give them directions, do they follow those directions? So these are very important things to keep in mind. And track and take note. Give a test to 5 or 10 different virtual assistants, and then, compare the work between, the multiple VAs, and test and compare to see who you like the most. Number 8, the 8th thing that you want to do before hiring a virtual assistant is be 100% clear with your expectations up front. What are you expecting your virtual assistant to accomplish with this job? What are your company values? You need to communicate this with your virtual assistant. Is communication important? Is working quickly important? Trust, making sure that virtual assistants clock in and clock out. What are your values? What are things that are important to you and your company? These are just crucial to communicate up front and let them know that these are important. You need to follow these rules. This is our culture. This is how we conduct ourselves. This is our behavior. You also want to communicate the pay amount up front. How are you going to pay them? How often are you going to pay them? Are you going to pay them through PayPal, or are you going to do a bank wire? How are they going to track their hours? Are you going to require that they use a tracking software? One thing that I do is I have my virtual assistants every day they work track how much they've worked. I have them write out a description of what they've accomplished, and then I have them put this all in a spreadsheet and send it to our manager each and every day. So you want to be upfront with your rules. Are there any bonuses that are going to be given? How do you keep an eye on quality control and behavior expectations, communication with the team? How are projects going to be managed? Is everything going to be managed through Trello or Google Drive, or maybe you have a different platform? So you really want to write out a clear vision of what you want. And once you hire the person, or right before you do, this virtual assistant, be 100% upfront and clear with, hey, this is what I expect. These are our values. This is our manager. You need to communicate this way. You need to behave this way. This is how you'll get paid. Here's some incentives and some opportunities if you perform well. So these are very important to keep in mind before you hire a virtual assistant. And I can tell you right now, after hiring over 100 virtual assistants, when you're not clear with the expectations up front, you're not going to get your desired outcome, because neither you or I or any virtual assistant, they can't read your mind. They can't read my mind. So you've got to be upfront. Super important. Number 9, going the wrong way. Use project management software with virtual assistants. A lot of people believe that hiring a virtual assistant is going to solve all your problems, and the truth is, it's not. If you have a really good system in your business and things are going very efficiently and run very well by yourself, and you want to hire a virtual assistant, if you train them with your method, you're going to amplify the amazingness, right? I didn't know what other word to use, but if things are going well, if you've got standard operating procedures and systems in line and step-by-step protocols, and you teach this to your virtual assistant, you're going to amplify the positive. But if you have horrible systems, if you're not managing things well, if you're scatterbrained, you're not a great communicator, if you're not clear with expectations and jobs, and if you're not training them exactly how to do things, if you're not managing things, you're going to amplify the negative. So it's so important before you hire a virtual assistant, create a system in order to be able to manage your projects. So I highly recommend, right in front of the screen right now, we have a Trello board that I've been using with my graphic designer. So you can see we have about 5 sections. There's a need to do section, so that's project 7, and that links out to Google Drive. That's our project, which we manage our projects through spreadsheets typically. And then we have a doing section. So when the virtual assistant starts doing it, they move it over to the doing section. When they complete it, they move it to need to check. So either myself or my manager will check it, and then once it's done, myself or my manager will move it to done and then eventually archive it. So that's just an example right there. You need a system. Trello, I believe, is free, and Google Drive. There are some paid versions, but definitely, I can't say it enough. Make sure that you use a project management software because you're only going to amplify your current situation. Number 10, communication is key. Before you hire a virtual assistant, understand that communication is everything. Do not underestimate the value of communication. Your virtual assistants will be thousands of miles away, especially if you hire them from onlinejobs.ph and you're looking to get the best rates. They're going to be thousands of miles away from you. And if you're living in the United States, that means clocks are going to be flipped upside down. So you need to make sure that you have a way to be able to communicate with your virtual assistants, right? To communicate what you need done, what needs to be checked, what needs to be fixed, the vision for the company, the work schedule, so on and so forth. So before you hire a virtual assistant, make sure to get all their information and save it on a spreadsheet. What's their Facebook, their WhatsApp, their email, their Skype? Be 100% clear with expectations in terms of how they're going to checking in with the team or the manager, and how you can contact them. What's their preferred contact? And also be upfront with them and say, hey, if you're going to call out, if you're sick, if you're not going to be able to work, that's fine, but let us know ahead of time. And last but not least, number 11, keep your business organized. We already touched on this a little bit with Trello and Google Drive, but it's very important when you hire a virtual assistant, when you start teaching them how to do things, you want to create training manuals. You want to create standard operating procedures, which are known as SOPs. So for example, say you teach somebody how to edit your YouTube video, ask your virtual assistant, hey, once you're done doing it, make sure that you create an SOP, a standard operating procedure, 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So now we have this. If you don't already have training manuals, now you'll have this standard operating procedure that you could put into your training manual for all the different parts of your business. And now you have this book essentially of all the different parts of your business. So if down the road a virtual assistant quits, you might not know how they did their graphic design. You might not know how they researched. You might not know how they dealt with customer service. Hopefully you do, but if you don't, now you have the standard operating procedure. Google Drive is a great resource to organize your business and manage projects. So is Trello. Another thing that you want to keep in mind when keeping your business organized before hiring a virtual assistant is having weekly and monthly and yearly goals. You want to share this with your virtual assistant. You want to let them know what's our vision, what's our ultimate goal here. You want to inspire and motivate them and make them realize that their work is having a real impact on the world. Document everything. Communication methods for your team is crucial. Hiring virtual assistants with a poor foundation will only amplify the negative, and it will not solve all your problems in your business. So these are very, very important things to keep in mind before hiring a virtual assistant.
So I know this is a lot of information, but I want to wish you luck, and hopefully you'll use these tips to go out and hire yourself an amazing virtual assistant or a team of virtual assistants to grow and scale your business. For more free tips for building your online business and making money online and eBay and Amazon and e-commerce and all that good stuff, check me out on YouTube at Raiken Profit, Instagram at Raiken Profit, and thanks again to onlinejobs.ph for sponsoring this video. I love your service, and I know a lot of my friends and people who follow me on YouTube and Instagram, they love it as well. So definitely check it out. I'll put links down below in the description. But there you go. You guys are armed and equipped to be able to hire your first virtual assistant or beyond, grow and scale your business, and take things to the next level. So with that being said, have an amazing day. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.